Welcome everyone to Harnessing Scorpio Energy right ahead of the full moon in Scorpio that we have on May 12th. However, this video is evergreen. So even if it's not a Scorpio full moon, you can still utilize the information in this to empower yourself Scorpio style. So we're going to talk all about how you can utilize this Scorpio energy for every single sign. So do enjoy that. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. So welcome to my channel if you're new here. Welcome back if you're returning. I'm Joshua the Psychic. You can check out my website, psychicsun.com, for readings, coaching, parties, and gift certificates for everybody on your list. Quite a cool gift, especially under this Scorpio full moon transit. So we're harnessing Scorpio energy, not just on the 12th of May, but always, right? We're going to really tap into the energy of Scorpio to make our lives as great as possible. So Scorpio is all about transformational power. It helps us to shed the old and embrace the new, just like that phoenix, right? That rises from the ashes. Scorpio calls us to confront our limitations, and that allows us to evolve and grow beyond what we thought was possible. Oh, I'm so glad. Welcome back, Casmar. Thank you so much for joining again. So Scorpio helps us to evolve and grow beyond what we thought, right? It's a death of consciousness. Because when somebody dies, for instance, if you think about it, it's like a death in consciousness because you never really knew life without them. And then they leave and it's almost like the lights go off, not just for them, but for you. So your consciousness can experience a death, and that can be a very positive thing too. For instance, maybe you're in a really, really advantageous position that's new, that's foreign to you, right? That's, again, the lights have gone out and you've created this new reality, or some might say you slipped into a new timeline, right? And that's what Scorpio energy can help us do. It can help us tap into and start living more empowering timelines. So it's all about transformation. If you have energy, you can transform it, right? Because energy can't be destroyed nor created, per Einstein. It can only take another form. So whatever it is that you're feeling, even if you're feeling bad about something, that is something that can be molded. That's something that can be transformed. Scorpio is also very intense and passionate. Scorpio feels everything very, very deeply. And they're much more in touch with their primal impulses than the other signs. All water signs are a little bit more in touch with their depths as opposed to the other elements. So they feel everything deeply, Scorpio. And really, Scorpio teaches us that when we channel and focus and direct our passion, it leads to powerful transformation. So, there's that expression, like, moved heaven and hell in order to do something. I always say that was coined for a Scorpio because they're so determined. So you can really utilize any passion or excess energy you have by zoning in and saying, this is what I want. This is what I need to do it. I'm going to commit. That's it. It already happened. I'm just going through the motions now. Scorpio is intuitive, very, very psychic, and very mysterious. That energy of Scorpio helps us tap into our subconscious, which makes us aware of our hidden truths and our deeper instincts, our paradigms, our hang-ups, those things that we do that we might not want to realize that we do. But the cool thing, when you're confronting the shadow side, what you're doing is you're integrating the shadow. So if I don't want to look at the darker aspects of my personality and I protect my conscious mind from them, I'm going to attract people into my life that are going to show me that darkness. And that's not always fun, right? Instead, what you want to do is you want to befriend your shadow and integrate your darkness. Because what usually happens is, say, for instance, traditional situation, a woman is not in touch with her ambition, let's say, for an example. So she gets this guy who's hyper ambitious, and in their relationship, what winds up happening is she actually takes on some of his traits and becomes ambitious like him. But instead of waiting for that other person to sort of show you your unlived self, You might want to, look really, you can look at your chart and you can see what's on the 7th house cusp, or you can determine what is not you and what is typically your partners and integrate that. But you want to integrate the shadow, if only because it's going to keep you from people who are not, keep you away from people who are not dark. Because if you're in this rainbow and butterfly state in which everything's like light and bright and happy, because of the need for wholeness, we may attract people who are playing on the darker side of things, and that's not good, right? So integrate your own shadow as much as you can. And empowering and healing. Scorpio is a real good healer, and it helps us, the energy of Scorpio helps us to confront our fears, trauma, and deep wounds, bringing profound healing. So you need to do that. Like every relationship you get into, be it a work relationship or a romantic relationship, or even in some respects a friendship, what typically happens is some old stuff is drudged up, right? The dirt is kicked up, and our old pain can resurface. And that is a call for us to say, okay, well, what do I need to look? What do I need to investigate? Because Scorpios are great investigators. And how can I heal that? Because essentially, the more you can heal your past, the further you're going to go. Because if you don't heal your past, I'll tell you exactly what is going to happen. Your inner child is going to be wanting to express itself, and it's going to be wanting to let other people know how it feels. It's going to want that authenticity. It's going to want that voice. So what will happen if you don't confront old stuff and heal it, you're going to put yourself in another situation that is parallel to what had caused you pain before. Jung would say we always return to the scene of the crime, but we don't have to, because if you do that, if you do the work, if you confront, your darker aspects, those things that still need healing, you're going to go further in the next job, in the next relationship, etc. Otherwise, if you don't heal it, it's going to show up again, most likely. So you want to utilize this Scorpio energy to, if anything hurts emotionally, psychologically, go there, heal it, send love to yourself in the past, whatever you can do. Because the more empowered you can be and the more love you can send to your past self, so to speak, to heal, the easier your life is going to be. Otherwise, you're going to be putting yourself in situations that are disadvantageous for you to heal and then to act out or exorcise, release those old negative emotions. And there's so many better ways of doing it. So don't do the normal way, do the smart way. And it can be very empowering, right? And you want to utilize pain as a stepping stone, right? You'll see there's a lot of tales of like rags to riches, for instance. Some of the richest people were actually the most poor. And a lot of the people who, had a fairly, say, middle or middle upper class background, they don't always get as rich as the people who were in real dire straits, right? We always hear those stories. So remember, anything that might be difficult, you can use it as a stepping stone. You can transform it. So let's go through every single sign and talk about how every single sign might leverage that Scorpio energy, not just this full moon that we have on May 12th, 2025, but for whenever you might be seeing this video. So Aries, Scorpio rules your 8th house. That's the natural health house that Scorpio rules. So it is about death and rebirth for you. And you want to allow yourself to channel that energy of transformation. We're always channeling, even our personality. We're channeling our personality that's all we're really doing. So you want to really tap into that energy of transformation. And it might be helpful spiritually if you do embrace a transformation ritual. Maybe you do something with fire. Maybe you burn up, you think of an old story or an old energy template, i.e., I always get into jobs that I don't like, or I'm always in a relationship and I'm always cheated on. Again, these are paradigms. These are sort of structures that we have in our brains that, create our reality. So you could, write that out and then burn it. Some kind of transformative ritual could be good. You could also just visualize yourself transforming, right? But I think fire for you, Aries, could be really helpful. So you can utilize fire by, lighting candles. Again, if you're lighting a candle under the full moon or full moon cycle, I typically wouldn't. I would do it more under the new moon, but you can light a candle, but just make sure that your intention is to release and let go and remove blocks as opposed to inviting in. You don't want to invite in under the full moon, waning moon cycle, because that energy will take things away. So that's why it's good for an old habit that you want to break, or a habit that you want to break. That could be great. So psychologically for Aries, you can practice strategic introspection. Aries is very, very fast. They typically shoot first and ask questions later. And it might be helpful for Aries to do a certain amount of reflecting. Like, why do I feel this way? What are my values? What do I want to get out of this situation? Am I operating from a place of logic? Sometimes Aries can, be very impulsive, and to be more strategic and really looking and saying, okay, well, what's the big picture here? What am I looking for? How can I handle this in a way that is advantageous for everybody, that is anti-drama? And I think it could be helpful for you, Aries, to really look and see what it is that you want. Like, what is your ideal? I think Aries can sometimes be so fast that they just go after it, even though they really should stop and say, is this really what I want? Number one. And number two, is this the best way to approach this? And you also want to check and see, are you acting out of the wounded child? Is that the actions that you're taking if you're getting mad about something? Or are you reacting from that place of empowerment? So think before you speak, think before you act, and really look at what might be driving your behavior. And focus on one goal. Aries, I wouldn't say that they, are scattered, but they want to do a lot. And it might be helpful to apply that scorpionic single-minded focus to any goal that you have. Just because otherwise, what you do, Aries typically, and again, this is typically, you have to look at the whole chart, but Aries will typically start a lot of projects and none of them will get finished. They have a lot of gung-ho at the start of the race, and then things dissipate. So determine your values and what really is going to make you happy. The first step to getting what you want is determining what you want. So slow down and then, be strategic. Look at the big picture and just be more logical as opposed to fast. Because again, the Scorpio energy, if you want to tap into it, it is more passive. It is more receptive. Scorpio is a water sign, although traditionally it was ruled by Mars. So enjoy that, Aries. I hope you can channel that Scorpio energy and make your greatest dreams come true. So for Taurus, Scorpio energy is actually the opposite of yours, literally. Because Taurus is about holding on to the status quo. Don't change the plan, man. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Whereas Scorpio is the exact opposite. They want to transform. They want to die. You could say Taurus wants to live and Scorpio wants to die. And when I say die, they want to allow themselves to be reborn. They want to dramatically let go of things. And Taurus wants to dramatically hold on to things, right? So what might be helpful for you, Taurus, is to really learn how to embrace change. I mean, think of it in terms of, clothes. Like, say you have a lot of clothes. Well, the more clothes you donate or you throw out or you give away, well, then you're going to get to have more things, more new things that are more aligned with your identity, right? So you want to allow yourself to really determine what it is that you no longer need in your life, be it actual material objects, people, places, or things. Spiritually, you might want to do some kind of earth-based ritual. Maybe you can, visualize your pain going into the earth and being cleansed. You also might want to declutter. Sometimes Tauruses, not always, but sometimes they can be a bit pack ratty, hoarders on their worst day, because they like their things and they get attached to their things. But what you could do is, hold an object and say, okay, well, does this empower me? Is this ideal for me to bring into my next level, my next stage, version 2 of myself? Do I want this to be part of my new story? And that might help you to donate something as opposed to holding on to it. And really looking to see what might be holding you back, right? Psychologically, the energy of Scorpio for Taurus can help you to really learn how to surrender and let go. And just, there's going to be certain things that are outside of your control. And I think physically, you're going to get a lot of benefit by releasing resistance, because Taurus is a very physical sign. So when we're holding on too tightly to things, it can create tension in our bodies. And goodness knows, Taurus wants to feel as good as possible in their body. And you can purge and renew. This is a good time for you to really look and see what you might be holding on to. Taurus holds on to things, not just objects, but, sometimes resentments and ideas that are no longer relevant, even in the face of new truth. So start with your living space, maybe let go of items that no longer serve you, or ones that are loaded with emotional baggage. And you might want to start a new routine of doing that, right? Housekeepers, what they do is they do wave 1 and 2. You go around the whole house and you just organize things and you throw things away as best as you can. And then wave 2 is then when you get out your parsons and you clean things. And wave 2 is really fun, but wave 2 is way easier if you do wave 1. So consider a new ritual like that. That could be really good for you, Taurus. So for Gemini, Scorpio falls in your 6th house. And that means whenever we have a Scorpio transit, it's usually going to be about work for you, your routines, your day-to-day regimes, the nuts and bolts of your operations, your health, your work. And Gemini is very, very curious, very, very curious. And therefore, it can really explore Scorpionic subjects. Scorpio subjects are those that go beneath the surface of things, like tarot or astrology, anything that excites you. You can engage your curious mind by learning more about our psyches, right? Why we tick, or new age thought that helps us to transform our circumstances, right? So really move into learning new things and trust your intuition. Like, you might find yourself going down a rabbit hole. Maybe you find and discover Abraham Hicks and you're like, oh, I really love Abraham Hicks, or the Seth material, or Joseph Murphy, or Neville Goddard, or whatever, anything. Even my channel, you could spend a lot of time looking at my evergreen videos, and that would most likely be very, very transformative for you. So allow yourself to look beyond the surface and dig deep into subjects. Now, Gemini, psychologically, you may want to embrace depth in your communication. Gemini likes to be light, and they can sometimes, be more frivolous. I don't want to say shallow, but, they like to chit chat. And sometimes we chit chat about things that don't matter, and that's fine. But you want to tap into that scorpionic energy, Gemini, you might want to go beyond any superficial conversations. Open up about your true feelings. It might be helpful in a relationship to be sort of like, you may notice that I do this and I'm working on it, but just so you know, I have this bit of a hang up, right? You want to make sure that you're engaging in meaningful dialogue, because a case could be made that Gemini is not really, tends to not have great longevity in relationships. And that could be because they did not have those conversations that need to be. So instead of healing and being open and honest and vulnerable, they just leave, right? And they find somebody else, and then they rinse, they repeat. So embrace depth in your communications. That could make things a lot better. And it could really strengthen your bonds with other people by being honest and vulnerable, which isn't easy for air signs, I know, but you could try. And you may want to not be jack of all trades, which Gemini is, but if you really want to embrace that Scorpio energy, pick one subject that really excites you and do a deep dive, because even within that subject, there's going to be multiple things, right, that you're going to be able to spread your attention among, right? That Scorpio energy, you could utilize it to really focus and not let yourself just have that fleeting curiosity, but really determine, oh, wow, if I master this, then I might be able to teach it. Or if I master this, I could make this dream come true, etc. So do some research about things that excite you, some subjects that do, and allow yourself to commit. So Cancer, whenever we have Scorpio energy, for you, it's usually about fun and play and joy and things that light you up. The fifth house is all those things that bring you joy, anything that you really, really love. And, it would be helpful for you to really go to that next level of joy, right? Like, what do you need to clear out that's going to allow you to experience as much joy as possible? So you're very emotional, Cancer. You're the most emotional sign of the zodiac, I think, and arguably most people think that. So it's a matter of transforming your emotions and saying, okay, I really feel this way. How can I channel that toward a particular end, right? And make that practical. One thing you might want to do is a moonlight ritual or moonlit ritual. And that might be, something as simple as, walking around at night, right? Or, going into your backyard and being under the moon, right? We all should really do that. We should spend time under the sun. And if we can also, of course, under the moon, we should try to get some sunlight and some moonlight daily. I think for Cancer, that moon can be very, very healing. So maybe you spend some time under the moonlight. And even if you're not outside, you could always take, a nice bath to connect with your intuition. Anything that gives you emotional release and a sense of renewal. Epsom salt is really good because it clears things out. It's really good for clearing. Psychologically, Cancer, you can utilize Scorpio energy by really facing your feelings. As we said, Cancer is deeply emotional. And because they have so much emotion, they might sometimes feel if they go there, then they're going to get taken under, right? They're going to be swept under the wave of emotion. And I get that. I understand that. But if you face your feelings, you're going to allow yourself to go further in life, because otherwise they're going to get in the way. It's almost a matter of whatever we try to avoid, it, comes back intensified, right? So face your feelings, be brave, get into a good space, find, that space of comfort where you're comfortable in your body, and allow yourself to really do a deep dive. How do I feel about this matter? Or if you're going into a new relationship, well, did you unpack all the stuff from your previous relationship? Or if you're going into a new job, did you unpack all the negativity with your new job, the old job? So when you're going into your new job, you're not bringing that into it, right? So face your feelings, as challenging as that might be. And that is typically, unresolved family issues or any past trauma. Maybe write them out or talk about them with a friend, or maybe express them creatively, right? But you want to go there. And most important for you, Cancer, is make sure you're reinventing your sanctuary. Your home is very, very important. You're the house of home and family. And home is really a metaphor for mother. And Cancer obviously is very connected to the mother, rules the breast. It's very connected to mothering. So you may want to look and see how your environment is the personification of your mother, as strange as that might sound. And how can you reinvent your sanctuary so that it supports your emotional healing and peace, right? And then that Scorpio energy can help you remove anything in your environment that doesn't align with not only your higher self, but also whatever gives you that sense of emotional security. It will help you to cleanse and release. Johnny, nice to see you. Thank you for joining today, and happy Friday. So for Leo, when we're talking about Scorpio energy, for you, it is going to usually be about your emotional security. Your home life is ruled by Scorpio, which means that you probably have had quite a dramatic home life. You're probably coming from a background in which there was a lot of drama and a lot of crises. So there's a lot of healing that Leo needs to do in the home space of their lives, right? A lot of emotional trauma may have been experienced in the home, which is not, if it's ignored, well, you're going to create that in your future, and you don't want to do that, right? So the big thing for you, Leo, because Scorpio is a water sign and you're in fire sign, it's all about making sure that your passion is infused with depth, right? And how can you allow yourself to honor your natural brilliance and leadership, but make it not about the ego so much as transforming yourself and transforming your world. Meditation could be really good. I would specifically suggest for you, Leo, any meditation that requires that incorporates solar or fire, sun energy, and also that phoenix, right? Because that's fire energy too, because it's burning and from the ashes. So you could always look for a solar meditation. There's one which you connect your belly button to the sun, and then you think of your father, and you think of his father and that ancestral line, and see yourselves all connected at the belly button. And men and women can do this. And that's going to empower you. It's going to empower your solar plexus. So that's one of many meditations that you can do. One thing about Leo is they're very strong and they like projecting that strength, but there is also a strength in vulnerability. And Scorpio, I think, knows that really well. And if bare the navel to the sun, that's good to know. I did that today. Is that a thing? Is that a thing? Bare the navel to the sun, literally or figuratively. So there's a strength in vulnerability, Leo. So you want to allow yourself to not always be that tough guy, not always be that strong guy, because you too deserve to have feelings, and you too deserve to be vulnerable. You don't always have to be the one that is doing everything. And Leo is very, very strong. I mean, they typically get the lion's share of responsibility, but you too also have an emotional center, and you want to make sure that you're nurturing it, because you're such a great manifester and a creator, Leo, and you don't want to create anything that doesn't align with your ideals now. So being honest and open about past hurts, experiences, and even recognizing for yourself that, you have feelings too, and that's okay. I would consider tapping into that Scorpio energy, Leo, by, talking to somebody and being vulnerable and letting yourself, share how you feel about things. And I know this isn't typical for you, but I think it could be really well worth the effort to really talk. And then you have, you're a leader. You're such a great leader, Leo. So you might want to lead a project or initiative that requires not just commitment, but maybe you're transforming something for other people, right? And you can, steer projects with laser precision, and that could result in real meaningful outcomes. So you might want to, because you are so good at leading and being a leader, you might want to take the charge when it comes to transforming. Maybe you start a club in which, you and your friends start exercising, or maybe you start a book club or a writing group, or even at work, maybe you decide that you're going to take on some kind of project and transform it, because that's going to help you to step into that position. And when Leo is being put in the spotlight where they shine, they can really tap into who they need to be, because they just then bring it. Then they become, more selfless and say, okay, well, I need to be transformative if I'm leading this transformational project. Oh, you feel that right now, and you struggle with emotional vulnerability? I hear you. Well, a meditation could help with that. And, I think that the first thing is to really be vulnerable with yourself, right? And really listen to how you feel. What is this? I feel like citrine to the navel outside of the sun is a great idea. Oh, I like that. And citrine is a stone, and I believe it's a solar stone, right? Yeah. I mean, you can visualize, that navel with the sun, even if you're in your home and you're not outside, or if you want to, literally show your navel to the sun. That's great too, as Janae says, although Janae sounds French. So I don't know, maybe, are you a nudist, Janae? Are you a new? That's okay if you are, of course. The French are advanced in certain ways. In any case, I don't think Leo would have a problem showing their navel to the sun. If any sign is open to it, it's probably Leo. So thank you, John A. So Virgo, this is when we're talking about Scorpio energy for you, it's always about your communication. So your communication should be really intense, right? They say that Virgo was born during a time in which their parents weren't getting along. And because babies are naturally narcissistic, they think everything is about themselves. They think it's their fault. So then they overcompensate. What about now? Is this good? What about now? And it's a fool's errand because their parents wouldn't be getting along with or without them. It has nothing to do with them. So that's why Virgos can overcompensate. They can be really, really hard workers. They say nobody can outwork a Virgo. So you want to make sure that you're healing the past as much as you can. And really looking at the whole concept of purging, not just, purging items that we no longer use, which Virgo is very good at. They very rarely have a mess. They very rarely have anything around that doesn't serve some practical purpose. But emotionally, that might be a different story. So think about whatever might be heavy, because if anything is heavy for you and feels like it's weighing you down, that's not yours. You've stolen other people's beliefs, or you've inherited other people's beliefs. So it might be helpful for you to purify your mind with your body. And I would say, like, for instance, you could do a shower in which you're saying you're, letting go or releasing old beliefs, or that water is healing your childhood. You could take a cleansing bath and, allow yourself, when you're out of the bath, you let the water go down the drain, and that's taking with it all your fears, all your hangups and insecurities, right? But you want to really focus on healing. So psychologically, you can really tap into that Scorpio energy by reflecting, self-reflection, and identifying any fears that you may have, any limiting beliefs. Why do you feel like you need to be perfect? Do you feel like you need to be perfect? And if so, well, isn't there perfection and imperfection, right? You want to make sure that you're tapping into the darker aspects of your personality, because I think Virgo does have a tendency to at times attract people who really do show that darker side, because I think they're much more into being perfect, and they don't always allow themselves to integrate their shadow, which makes it easier for darker people to enter their lives. And if you integrate your shadow, you're going to also find somebody who's more balanced. So it's not like, you're just meeting your shadow side in this relationship. You want to meet your unlived self, most likely, but in a way that's balanced. So it's not a matter of you're perfect and they're a disaster, etc. And deep clean and reorganize. Again, you're good at this. Not an issue for you to deep clean and reorganize your life. But what about an emotional level? And could you reorganize your life in a way that is more empowering? Maybe instead of looking at something and say, oh, well, do I use this? If not, I'll throw it away. It could be a matter of saying instead, does this empower me? Do I feel strong when I hold this? Is this what I want to bring into my next stage, the next chapter of my life? Right? So I think even, using that as a litmus test. Okay, does this empower me? Is this going to be part of the change? Do I want this in version 2 of me? Like all of those things. Because then what you're going to do is you're going to have only these things that are empowering. Oh, what oils would I recommend for a goddess bath to heal mother wound? I love the suggestion. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with what Casmar says. Absolutely. I don't think there's anything really specific for the mother wound, but I like your advice, Casmar. Yeah, thank you, Casmar. Yeah, I agree. Lavender and lilac for sure. And enjoy that energy, Virgo. So for Libra, when we're talking about Scorpio energy, usually we're talking about it in regard to your second house, which is about your self-worth and your money and your values. And you might want to really utilize Scorpio energy to balance that light and dark. And that's again going to help you to make sure that you're meeting people that are more balanced. You don't want to meet somebody who just epitomizes the ugly parts of yourself that you don't want to look at, right? You want to befriend the shadow, befriend those parts of yourself that you might not like, and integrate them, and that's how you can heal them, as opposed to meeting horrible people, right? So you want to meditate on inner balance, really embracing all parts of yourself and loving yourself unconditionally. Because remember, the more unconditionally loving you can be to yourself, that's going to be reflected back to you in your partnerships. If you are nasty to yourself, you're going to meet somebody who also is nasty to you. And you don't want that. You don't want that. So you may want to deepen authentic connections, and that's by, having those conversations that might be a little awkward at first. Libra loves peace, but sometimes at the expense of authenticity, right? And it's a matter of making sure that you get those conversations underway to build trust and understanding, and really allowing yourself to be vulnerable and say, okay, look, this is a thing I have, and this really, really bothers me. I know it might be illogical, but this is a big problem for me. Really upsets me when people do this. This bothers me. So then you make that case clear. And what are you doing? But, if the person's not an idiot, you're saving yourself an argument down the line. So especially now, I've been saying for months now that May and June is great for starting new things, be it relationships or jobs. The energy is great. Even in terms of work, communicating with prospective employers, like, this is what I need in order to enjoy my job, right? So be honest, have those difficult conversations. That's just going to save you trouble later on. It's better to get it out of the way, right? And then, Libra does have that sense of being indecisive at times, not always, but usually. And Scorpio is pretty decisive. Scorpios are very rarely ambivalent about things. Like, they either are going to really like it or really not like it. They can be very extreme in their tastes, right? So think about what values you have and what matters to you at this juncture in your life, Libra. And then determine what you want. What does that look like? And then make decisions based on that. Is that, in this context, for instance, okay, well, if I do this, is this going to lead me closer to my goal, or it's going to put me back, right? Is it going to set me back, or is it going to get me closer? So determine what you want. And I would say this, that when you're thinking about, oh, this will definitely get me closer to my goal, well, then don't dilly-dally. Just do it. Just rip off the Band-Aid fast. Oh, thank you, Stryker. This is great too. She would go with eucalyptus, I think, acacia, flower blend, and astringent bright. Very nice. Thank you, Stryker. Nice to see you. I like your name, Stryker Van Kelly. That's a cool name. So yes, just be more assertive, and that's going to make it easy. It's going to be easy for you to be assertive, Libra, when you get really clear on your values and what you want, and saying, this is going to either bring me closer or further away. And Scorpio, all of this, right? This is natural for you. But, sometimes we could use a little bit of a push to realize that what we can do, right? And you want to realize, especially under this full moon, if you're catching this live, is, with great power comes great responsibility. I think sometimes we get empowered and we're almost afraid of our power. If anybody has experienced that, let me know in the chat. Do you sometimes fear how powerful you are? I find that Scorpios sometimes do, right? Because they're worried like they might make a bad move, or they might hurt themselves or somebody else, right? But, you're in control. You're in control. So spiritually, you might want to do some kind of ritual that allows you to really visualize that phoenix coming out of the ashes, right? I think Scorpio is really aligned with that imagery, with that symbolism. So that could be really, really helpful for you. You might want to do any kind of ritual, really. You could write out things that you're letting go of and then burn it. You could, light a candle. Again, remember with the full moon cycle and the full moon, it's all about letting go of things with your candles, not drawing things in, or simply meditating and embracing change. But, allow yourself to ritualize. When we are dramatic in rituals, it presses upon the subconscious more easily. That's why in a lot of pagan circles and ceremonies, they dance around the room and they chant and they're really loud because it's very dramatic and it sticks with you in your subconscious. You want to impress upon your subconscious that a change has taken place. So, make your rituals in your brain a little bit dramatic. So, you can channel your intensity into healing, and this is really key. So, when we deal with Scorpio energy, things like we said are always brought up to the surface and we're feeling very deeply about things. But that pain that you might experience, it's really going to be key for you to go to that next level. So when you're feeling pain, allow yourself to send love to that area of your life. Maybe visualize yourself as a child and sending love to that child, or visualizing yourself in, that horrible thing that happened in that last job of that relationship, and sending yourself love. Because the more love you can give yourself from the past, the further you're going to go in the future, right? It's like a slingshot. Like whenever we get into a new job, a new relationship, a new anything, the past experience that we had sort of determines what comes next, unless we make that decision. Okay, well, this happened before. I don't want this to happen again. But don't underestimate the power of healing, especially with intention. Well, I want to heal this so I'm good in this relationship, or I want to heal this so I excel at my job, etc. So by confronting old wounds, you can transform those into strength. And then on a practical level, well, they say if you really want to learn something inside and out, then you can teach it. That's the only way to really learn something, is to teach it. So you may want to empower other people by serving as an example. Maybe saying to yourself, oh, I'm going through this. I'm having to let go. Let me, personify to other people what that looks like, what it looks like to heal, to move forward. So leadership roles that challenge you, while also supporting others, could be a really great way for you to work with your energy and to teach others. Because if you can teach others what you know, you're going to become more masterful of it, because you're going to then, get more information from the other person about the matter. And that's going to inform, the intricacies of it, right? So it's always good to help other people whenever you can, especially because at the end of the day, you're helping yourself, right? Because everybody's a reflection. What is this, Johnny? I love Scorpio energy. So powerful and adaptable with such resiliency. One of my favorite energies. So mysterious to me too. Me too. So Sagittarius, Scorpio energy is not easy for you. It's like a 12th house karmic thing. You have a lot of karma with Scorpio. In fact, if you meet a lot of Scorpios, if you have a Sagittarius rising, chances are you have lots and lots of karma with Scorpios, because your 12th house in your chart determines your karma. And whatever signs are in there, or even on the cusp of the 12th house cusp, those are the people you have the most karma with. So there's karmic relationships, and that means those people can sometimes get the best of you. So just keep that in mind. So you are an explorer, Sagittarius. You want to, find out about new things. But what about your soul? What about your soul? So you could go on a quest and really understand who you are. And that could be a really interesting journey, that exploration of your internal landscape. And I think Sagittarius has the broad-mindedness to be like, oh yeah, okay, that did happen. That might be why I get into these situations. Or this is an interesting philosophy about manifestation, right? You can allow yourself to turn inward. Even though you're adventuresome, that doesn't mean you can't be adventuresome with yourself and your psyche. You could also use Scorpio energy to explore deeper spiritual practices, like meditation or journaling, or even learning occult subjects. Maybe you do a deep dive into astrology. I think Sagittarius is sort of like Gemini in that they're jack of all trades. Like they don't typically commit. They're not really committers. in relationships or even in terms of subjects. They might like a subject, but they don't necessarily want to get married to it. And when they get married, well, it's really tough to keep a Sagittarius from those wandering eyes. It's very, very, very challenging. The Sagittarians are wanderers. So wander within and see what you might want to learn. Psychologically, Sagittarius is very, very fast. They want their fire sign. What's next? What's going on? I get that. But Scorpio energy requires moments of stillness. Like, what are you running away from? Are you worried about the intensity of that emotion dousing out your flames? But if you can allow yourself to engage in those moments of stillness and you reflect, you'll get an understanding of what your true desires are. Because Sagittarius can aim for their target, hit their target, and get another target. But what sense is it if it's not the right target? So embrace that sense of stillness to really determine what you desire at this stage in your life. It might be helpful for you, especially in terms of relationships, to look at whatever walls you may have built up and whether or not you feel like you're ready to bring those down, right, for other people. And also is a good time for you to look at your motivations, right? And see, what is it that you want to do and what motivates your energy, what inspires you. Because I think Sagittarius, like all the fire, well, definitely Aries, they can be very fast. And with that speed, again, you might hit all your targets, but what if they're not the right ones? And that's why you need to reflect about what it is that you're actually looking for. On a practical level, Scorpio will help you channel your expansive thoughts into one focused long-term goal or long-term vision, which might incorporate other things. That's why I think a vision board for Sagittarius is really good. Sagittarius is the traveler, right? So, you might say, okay, I want to go to this destination, but, there might be cool things en route there. And that's what you might want to do. You might want to get a vision for yourself and say, okay, this is where I'm going, but along the way, I might find these new things, but give yourself some deadline. Keep yourself on track, Sagittarius, because if you wind up going, say you're planning on going to Paris and you stop in London, you Sagittarius, you're just going to have such a good time in London that you might not ever go to Paris. And that was the main plan. So you got to use that discipline and say, okay, no, I'm going to be in Paris. I can stop off in London, sure, and I can explore this, and that. But at the end of the day, I need to wind up in Paris by this point, right? So think about your long-term vision. And that'll help bring your big ideas to life. And then the whole world will be very, very much better with your visions coming to life. Now, Capricorn, for you, it's your 11th house. So Scorpio and you get along well, typically. I would say Scorpio and Capricorn are the most ambitious signs of the zodiac. I would say Scorpio is more ambitious, actually, than Capricorn, even though Capricorn is the house of ambition. And I say that because Scorpio is willing to die for what they want. Like, they will. They will do whatever they can to make sure they get to where they need to go, even if it means, working to the point of exhaustion. Not saying that Capricorn won't, but there's more of an emotional risk with Scorpio. And Capricorn is a lot more prudent. Both are ambitious, but Scorpio is a little bit more so, I think. So for you, Capricorn, it's all about strategy, right? You want to really allow yourself to tap into that Scorpio energy that's going to empower your goals and empower your dreams. One thing that might be important for you is to reflect purposefully. Capricorn is very, very practical. It doesn't like doing things that are not, grounded. So the thing is that you might undervalue meditation or reflection. But I think it's important. I think it's important to do that because you could hit all of your marks, but if they're not the right marks, that really sucks, right? So meditate and journal on the legacy you want to leave, Capricorn. That's nice and macabre for Scorpio energy. And really think, how do your daily actions align with your ideal contributions? And that's going to make you more strategic, right? Because every day you're doing it. And if you don't know what you're supposed to do, again, like getting more in touch with your body, quieting things within, That's going to help you connect to your soul's mission, and it's going to help you to align with your practical goals, right? Because you want to make sure you're going to be able to hit whatever you want. You're very goal oriented. You're very driven. You're very smart. You're very hardworking. However, you want to make sure that you're going after the right things that at the end of the day have heart and meaning. Capricorn, they are afraid of change at times, right? They want to maintain things that are stable, even if those things might not be good. And I feel like Capricorns are very tough people, so they can actually withstand a horrible, challenging situation for a lot longer than they ought to. So just because you're tough and you can hack it, i.e., being in a toxic relationship or a terrible job in which you're treated poorly or overworked or overburdened, you can indeed, Capricorn, stick it out. You're tough enough. You're a tough cookie. But do you really need to? At this stage in your life, do you need to deal with this nonsense? So think about that. And, it's the same thing in terms of jobs and like in terms of jobs, we usually make our biggest pay jumps when we leave the company and go to another company. Same thing in terms of relationship. You can get into a new relationship and do a lot better. So don't be afraid of change if that is what the doctor orders. You might want to think about one fear that you have and, heal it, transform things, use that heart energy of love, and you're going to find that everything is easier. If Capricorn used their heart more, they would be more successful. And then you want to really empower your network. I mean, you're a leader, obviously, Capricorn. And I feel like, that Scorpio energy, if you help other people achieve their goals, it's going to be easier for you to achieve yours. So you might want to initiate some kind of project that requires either transformation or some kind of collective effort. And you can use your strategic mind to help people, right? And to help transform. So do enjoy tapping into that Scorpio energy, Capricorn. So Aquarius, for you, when we're talking about Scorpio energy, we're really talking about your career most often. Oh, thank you, Jeanne. I appreciate that. I haven't done those in a while, but thank you. So we're innovating. Aquarius is the innovator, and the 10th house has to do with your career. So even though Aquarius is not really an emotional sign by any stretch of the imagination, professionally, they're very connected to their career and what their contribution is. Because if you remember, right, Aquarius is the humanitarian of the zodiac. So they have to make some kind of contribution in order to help humanity, in order for them to feel right. That's why the intense sign of Scorpio is in the 10th house of career for Aquarius, because they care very, very much about humanity and making people better off as a result of their work. So you want to innovate, but you want to, really utilize that Scorpio energy to innovate with emotional depth. Aquarius is very curious, like all the air signs. So you can allow Scorpio energy to help you to explore perhaps things that are mystical or metaphysical. And, creativity in a lot of ways is about combining two things that you might not normally combine, like fashion and astrology, or what I do with awesome Diane Krucka. We combine fragrance with astrology, right? So, you don't know what you don't know. So if you explore these other things, these new things, you might want to incorporate them into something else that you've mastered, right? You might want to study astrology or learn about energy healing. I mean, there's so many modalities out there in which we can heal, and that could be really fun for you. Aquarius loves to tap on into an aspect of themselves that's new. Like, that's what inspiration is, when you tap into this new aspect of yourself. And that's going to just fuel your ideas. So psychologically, Aquarius is not comfortable with intense emotions. They're typically detached from their emotions. That doesn't mean that Aquarians don't have emotions. It's just that they're removed. It's sort of like this association. Like, they're very removed from themselves emotionally. And that's a problem at times because, well, in order for them to achieve emotional fulfillment, it's going to be helpful for them to know how they feel. So confront any emotions that you have, or befriend any negative emotions, Aquarius. That's going to help you. You don't want to always intellectualize your feelings. You want to feel them and experience them. Let them flow through you and let them go away. Just like your thoughts. Like, your feelings are not you. They pass through you and they transform. but allow yourself to really go deep and understand how you tick, because that's going to help you in terms of work. That's going to help you in terms of your relationships, etc. Even if it's just journaling, having deep conversations with friends or therapists, etc., that can help you to tap into those emotions that you've avoided. And you might find that that's a huge game changer. You can channel that Scorpio energy, that passion, into some kind of cause, whatever aligns with your values that you feel really strongly about. That could be activism, community building, anything that requires action. Because Scorpio is going to help you give you the drive and the depth to not just dream, but to manifest your vision. And for Aquarius, it's going to be easier for them to manifest their vision when they're doing it on account of other people, because it's the humanitarian of the zodiac. It's not about them so much as what people who might follow them, right? Or how what they do affects the world at large. Like, at the end of the day, Aquarius wants to come up with goals that are good for humanity, not just themselves. And when Aquarius does that, hands come out of nowhere to help them. So think about how you can channel your passion into some kind of cause. Do I believe in cusps in astrology? I'm a Pisces, but an Aquarius cusp. I both traits. Okay. So this is the thing with cusps. There's technically no such thing as a cusp. So for instance, let's look at the sign of Taurus. Sometimes the sun enters Taurus on April 19th. Sometimes the sun enters Taurus on April 20th. Sometimes it's even April 21st, right? But astrology is such that if the sun entered Taurus at 7:02 p.m. East on the 19th of April, you're a Taurus. So 7:01, you're an Aries. Like, it's very exact. There's no cusps. You're either one or the other. However, if the new moon before your birth, for instance, like say somebody was born on April 21st, right? The new moon before their birth may have been an Aries. So that's going to make that Taurus more Aries. Versus if you have a Taurus that was born, say, May 15th, the new moon before their birth was in Taurus, most likely. And if that's the case, they're going to be more Taurian. So cusps don't exist. I mean, it's a misnomer. However, if you have the new moon, like, you can actually see that most with, I would say, the sign of Aries, because you'll see some Aries, you're like, you're an Aries. They're very, very passive. They're going along to get along. They're really relaxed. Why? Because the new moon before their birth was in Pisces, not Aries. Whereas those middle Aries people, mid-degree Aries people, they might be more Aries because the new moon. So check the new moon before your birth as opposed to cusps. That's going to give you more information. Thank you for your question. So, yeah, Aquarius, you got this. Just channel your passion into some kind of cause for humanity. And last but never least, my fishies. Oh, what is this? Oh, yeah, you're a Taurus moon, Aries. Okay. Oh, really interesting. Okay. You're a Taurus, but your moon is an Aries. Okay. Or Aries new moon? I see. Loaded ninth house in Aries. Okay. Really cool. So for Pisces, you can really tap into Scorpio's resolve. You know, Pisces is the most evolved sign of the zodiac. And there, you know, it's where everything comes together. So Pisces is like the spine of the zodiac. It incorporates all its signs beforehand. So Pisces has every single sign. So because they are the last sign and they have 11 signs before them, they can tap into that energy of Aries, of Taurus, of Capricorn, or whatever came before them. So Pisces is going to have it easier than most of us, right? Because they're very adaptable and they have all those signs as that background and they can tap into them. So with Pisces, I think the big thing for you, Pisces, you can really utilize that Scorpio energy by setting boundaries. Pisces is not good with boundaries because, you know, every gift is a curse. And what Pisces is really good at is understanding that we're all one. We're all connected. Like, if I hurt you, I'm really hurting me. And honestly, if I have problems with you, it's because I have a problem with me, right? And Pisces kind of gets that on an intuitive level. And they don't always note the boundaries between themselves and other people because they understand that integrative element and that law of one, how we're all interconnected. But that's a problem because, then they can be taken advantage of, then they can be too open energetically, and then they don't last long. That's why they might want to escape, or they might want to hibernate or isolate, etc. So you need to create better boundaries. You have a lot of empathy, Pisces, and sometimes that can be problematic. You're not hired to, do readings or help other people all the time. I'm not suggesting you not be caring and kind and do what you can to help other people, but you got to be able to say no. No is a sentence, right? And you also want to think about, yourself and making sure you're number one. Pisces can be a martyr that makes you cry. So you don't want to unnecessarily sacrifice, especially if it's not appreciated. So some detachment might be helpful, and to actually say, okay, well, I need to create a boundary between me and this person. So transform victim into victor. I think because Pisces is so kind and open and spiritualized that they can sometimes not have the proper boundaries that they need in order to protect themselves. So they're more likely, to say yes to something because they're so empathic that if you feel good, they feel good. I think there was that book a long time ago, right? I'm okay, you're okay. Because there's 4 things it can be. It can be I'm okay, you're okay. I'm okay, you're not okay. I'm not okay, you're okay. Or I'm not okay and you're not okay. It should be I'm okay, you're okay. But with Pisces, it's usually a matter of like they're so sensitive that if you're okay, they are. But that you want to make sure that you're okay. You got to look out for number one. So Scorpio is going to help you to really confront your deepest fears and heal the past. Because if you can heal the past and send love to yourself when you were in that shitty job or relationship, then you're going to have less likelihood of encountering that in a future one. That self-awareness is going to lead to healing, and not just emotionally, but also physically. Because if every physical symptom has a spiritual root. So pain in the back, they say pain in the past. So by healing your past, your back will be in better shape. And who doesn't want a better back, right? So doing whatever you can to heal the past is going to help you create the future that you want. Now, my favorite thing for you, Pisces, is creative manifestation, because you are so imaginative. And I got to say, Scorpio has such a great imagination too. I think Pisces just like goes there. Like nothing's real to a Pisces. So nobody's more imaginative than Pisces, but Scorpio is a close second. They can really tap into realms that are not yet seen. And the more you can do that, and the more familiar you can get with those visions that you're creating for yourself, the easier it's going to be to roll those out into your new reality. So do whatever you can to enjoy your imagination and really use it as a tool. Because you never want to think about the way things could go wrong. You want to think about, oh, this could happen, that's great. This could happen, and that's great. Because what you're doing, you're creating these neural pathways, right? Whenever you're thinking about a possibility. So make a list of all the great things that could happen and play them over in your mind over and over and over again. So you'll be able to manifest your goals much more easily if you do that. And that's also would be helpful probably is manifestation. For manifestation would be vision boarding. Again, what you focus on, what you concentrate on, you get. That's what you manifest. There's no other main rule. So for all of us, really, it's really for all of us all about embracing our shadows, our shadow side, and really integrating and befriending our shadow, so we're not meeting horrible people, our unlived selves, right? It's also about embracing change and realizing that change is the only constant that we have in the universe. Change is actually what stability is, because it's the only thing that's stable is change. So we're in that flow. It's going to be easier for you to go with the current and let the current give you what it is that you need, right? Because the the flow is available to you, and it's a matter of just doing what you can to trust in that. And that's why the visualization is super important, because the more you can get familiar with something that you want to have happen, the more likely it's going to happen. That's why you visualize and you see yourself in that situation. How does your body feel in that situation? That's going to help you manifest. So embrace your change, face your shadows, and empower your journey. I hope these tips help you. What is that? Boundaries are a tough thing for me. Well, what's cool is that you can transform that. And if that's like transform your beliefs, and that's a big part of like healing with Scorpio. I mean, if you believe that boundaries are bad for you or tough for you, that might become an apparency. But if you believe that you also can get better at setting boundaries, that will also become an apparency. So thank you, John A. Thank you, Casmar, of course, and anybody else who might be watching. Great to see everybody. Thanks for joining me in this special live stream on Friday. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. And, of course, a wonderful full moon in Scorpio if you're catching this live. That's on Monday, May 12th. And definitely check out my resources for that. So take care, everybody. Enjoy your Scorpio full moon, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.